What's going on, YouTube modeling community? Pap here at West Georgia Rides and Customs. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Unified Scale Auto Content Creators of YouTube's group build, better known as the USACC group. We'll just shorten that down a little bit. That's a mouthful to say each time. But this year we're doing the 68 Dodge Dart picked by Mr. Kim Soda Pop over there. If y'all ain't subscribed to his channel, go over there. Awesome content creator, awesome builder all around. Kim is over in Denmark, if I ain't mistaken. And tell you what, to have someone his caliber of builder and building hot rods from over here that's in the United States, over in Europe, man, I tell you what, that's just awesome to see that the influence of these old muscle cars that they had on builders out there in over in Europe. And I tell you what, great choice, Kim. Really, really fun. This is a really fun build. I normally build Fords and Chevrolets, but this is probably about the third or fourth Mopar that I've ever built. But really enjoying each one of them when I do build them. I learn a little bit something new about the body lines as far as the suspension and stuff. And that's what we're going to cover today on this video. As we've been progressing with the build, we've been using the products from MCV Products here. If y'all haven't went over to the website, that's the website right there, mcvproducts.net. Get you some of these some of these awesome parts that I'm using on this build right here, and these are some of the big Pro Street meats that we're using in this build, as well as we're using one of his back calves, and I'm going to leave, this is all taped in, it's all glued in. We got everything, let me get this down a little bit better. We've actually got everything fitting very nicely in here. We got everything where it's, uniform, everything center to center. But today we're going to be working on the front suspension. And I talked earlier about how I like to lower the front end to kind of get that real low in the weeds stance that I always like to achieve with my builds. And I'm going to show y'all how I like to do that. So with that being said, these are, let me set this out of the picture right here. These are the tires and wheel combos that I chose to use on this build for the front. They're mirror images, just the narrower versions of the big Pro Street meats that we're using here. But instead of a 3D printed tire, I'm going to use the front tires out of the kit itself. They fit very nicely in here. I just had to actually just had to take a razor, my X-Acto blade, go around inside the black tire itself and trim out a little rib out. And these slide very nicely down in there, and they fit very nicely. But what I did first was I always like to, when I'm trying to put get that low in the weed stance, I always assemble the front end of the car itself. And this kit has a great K-member that pops in, pops out. I've got it wedged up in there. But the first thing that I like to do is I'll take, I save a lot of these old backs off of different kits whenever I finish a build. If I've got a set of backs left over from a build, I'll just take them and throw them in a little drawer that I've got over here, a little box, and they always like that way. Reason what I'm trying to achieve here is I'm trying to show y'all the open center right there. And what that allows me to do is, and I've already glued in, and I'll show y'all the products that I use for this axle. What I'm trying to do, and I may have to go off camera to do this for just a second. And let's do it this way, Fred. It's easier. Okay. What I like to do is, okay, now that I've got the tire in there, I always like for the front, the top of this tire to go up in the fender well. And with everything taped in as far as the frame, the front K-member and everything, you can see where I've already actually located a pin. and that is some of the evergreen styrene. And I'll show you all the products that I'm using here to do that with here just in a second. But having that open wheel right there allows me to put a dot, take a dot, put it in there on that pitman axle, and what I'll do is I'll just take a black Sharpie and put a dot in there, and having that open wheel allows me to see where that dot is at. And then I can pretty much, well, go, okay, well, that lines up with that. That's where I want everything at as far as the center of the tire and the wheel and how deep up in that fender well I want them. Not hitting anything in the fender well, probably just scrubbing the top of the fender well, but, you know, this thing ain't a daily driver. This is something that's going to sit static on a table or in a box or on a model show or something like that. But that's what I'm trying to do right there. So save your backs. That's probably a good tip. That way you can kind of figure out where you want that. And now that you've got a position on the steering axle itself, you can duplicate it on the other side right here as far as the center to center. Now that we've got that marked, I'm going to pull the K member out, set the body off to the side. And when we, off camera, I already drilled a hole. It's actually, what I do is I take my vernier calipers and I check the diameter of the styrene tubing that I like to use. And this is what I'm using right here. This is these are three products that I use a lot of. This is available at Hobby Lobby. You can get these at most craft stores and hobby shops. This is the Evergreen scale model styrene. This is item number 224. This is the 1/8 tubing. That is what I will use right there. And I'll explain what all I'm using these for here in a second. This is item 226. This is 3/16 tubing. And that's the big diameter stuff right there. And then I've got the item number 222, which is the 1/6 rods, 1.6 millimeters in diameter, and that's what I pin the axle with. Now, let me show y'all what all I was referencing to. Give me a hand over there, Mr. Scully. The 1/6 diameter is this right here. This is what, once I've positioned where I want my hole to go in, and I have actually cut, I took these, let me find, there we go. These are the these are the axles that were here originally. And if you can see right there, I've already nipped these off. I took my nippers and just nipped those off. I took a sanding stick, smoothed that down really well, put this on the axle, or put this K member on the frame. I made my mark right there by using this right here. And now that we've got that, got the position mark, take you a drill bit, same diameter of the Evergreen styrene, the 222 product. Drill that all the way through, just like that. Cut you off a small section right there, just a little small section. And if I'm not mistaken, that's about 5/16. So that's about 5/16 long. Take your, and I use a lot of this, put you a little dot on that, push that through, and let that set. That's your first step of doing that. Then, as you can tell right here, I've already glued this piece on, and y'all gonna get to see old Pappy do some gluing for a change. It's not a snap kit. These are not snap kits, guys. That's a joke. That's a joke. Everybody knows that Pappy builds a snap kit every now and then. So, with that being said, here's what we go. We take a little glue, put it right just around that right there. Set that to the side. I tend to get a little messy. We cut the same length. This is a little shorter, and we'll push that up onto the the new axle, which you can see how much this was the position right here of where the original axle was at. We raised it that much. So in scale, gosh, that's probably 8 inches, 6 to 8 inches. Okay, now that we've got that into position, I like to just put a little drop of the green quick. That's kind of, I don't know, I feel that this stuff kicks the orange stuff and kind of makes it a lot easier to for it to accelerate. It's kind of like an accelerator, I feel. But y'all let me know what you think. Now that I've got that in there, we set this to the side, and we're going to another thing. Now here, these are the tires and the tires and wheels that I'm using right here from MCV Products. These are great. These are great wheels. I really like these. And these are the fronts, and that is the back side of those wheels. And if you notice, there's just an indentation right here. And that's what really is going to be, there's nothing for it to attach to. You could glue that right there with epoxy, but I don't like to do it. I always like to use some kind of an indicator in order to do that. And now that I don't need this anymore, set that to the side. We're going to put the wheel. Maybe it went in that way. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Put the wheel back into the tire, and the part that we just glued on, this part right here, this was the item 224. That's the 1/8. That's the 1/8 scale tubing that just went over that. That just went over the what I call the where it's drilled into the steering axle. So we're just building that up as far as the diameter, and then the item number 226, which is the 1/16 diameter stuff. This is what is going to get glued onto the wheel. And if you see right there, that just slides right over that, right there. Makes putting that wheel on once you get it in there. You may have to trim once you put the K-member on the frame permanently. You'll have to kind of figure out your offset with the wheel. But I always cut these very that thin right there. And if you're wondering how thin that is, that's about what is that graduated out? 16. That is 1/16 thin right there. And I cut that on a miter box with my razor saw. Now, what I'm going to do with this is we'll take some CA glue, put a drop of it down, dot that on there. I'm not going to do that on camera, but I'll put a drop of it on my mat. I'll just dab that on there. I'll also take some kicker and put some kicker right down in that little opening, right where that center is at. I'll get everything lined up, and as soon as I touch that, that'll be there permanently. That gives you a center positioning on that. I haven't got it glued in yet, but that way when you attach the wheel onto this, everything lines up perfectly. Then you can mount the K-member on the frame once you're in your final assembly. But that's how I like to do all this. As far as when I'm trying to get a real low and mean front end on a lot of my builds, that's some of the stuff that I do. Now, this is on the front end itself. Well, in the later video, we'll talk about how we set up this 4-link suspension and how I get that low and mean look on that particular rear end housing as far as with that. And again, those 4-link suspension and tubs, those are available at mcvproducts.net. Go over there, get you some of those good products that Matthews sells. Tell them that Pappy sent you, and Hope y'all got something out of this particular video. If you got any questions or anything, drop me a link below in the questions. I'll jump to it as soon as I can. Get an availability of time. I tell you what, time's kind of something now with the holidays coming on. It's just kind of hard to answer everything, but I always try to do that. Anyhow, folks, if you can dream it, build it, as I always say. God bless y'all. Pappy out of here.